Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand today on behalf of my constituents of Bowmanville, Oshawa North to oppose Bill C-9 and support efforts to further scrutinize and study this legislation. I share my time with the member from York Centre. Mr. Speaker, there are many problems with Bill C-9 and the Liberal attempt to amend Bill C-9 to criminalize the reading and sharing of Bible verses in this country. We oppose this for many reasons, but I do want to draw attention to an area that has not gotten enough attention, which is the efforts of the Liberal Party to enact a form of cultural imperialism on Christians, Muslims, and Jews in this country. I want to share with you, Mr. Speaker, an academic definition of cultural imperialism, because I am sure many in the House probably are not used to hearing that term to describe what the Liberal Party is attempting to do to citizens of our country. This definition comes from EBSCO, a research database published in 2024, and the definition reads, as I say, cultural imperialism refers to the imposition of one culture's values, beliefs, and practices over another, often leading to the erosion of the latter's unique cultural identity. It manifests through various mediums, including education, religion, and media, where dominant cultures often shape and redefine the social and ethical frameworks of less dominant societies. Cultural imperialism causes changes that are usually faster than would otherwise occur, and in a direction that benefits those from the dominant or influencing culture. The faster pace can mean that the changes have a destabilizing effect on other aspects of the culture, and the association of the changes with benefits accruing to members of the dominant culture. Taken together, that means that one party is benefiting from actions that are harmful to others. Now, Mr. Speaker, I share this definition to provide some context for what I believe the Liberal Party is doing right now. They've been in power for over a decade and tried their very best to exercise influence over every institution in this country. They've abused the power of the federal government to impose their values, beliefs, and practices on as many institutions in our country as they possibly can. And today, we see evidence that they, through Bill C-9 and the Liberal effort to amend Bill C-9, an effort to exercise that cultural imperialism over churches, mosques, and synagogues. I've provided an academic definition for cultural imperialism, but I would also like to provide a pop culture reference. The hit song from last year, Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us, he uses some language to describe colonial thinking in his diss track to Drake. He says, and I quote, "You not a colleague, you a colonizer." And that, Mr. Speaker, is precisely what the Liberal Party is attempting to do to Christians, Muslims, and Jews in this country. Liberals are not treating the diverse communities of our country with any degree of respect. They are not treating them like colleagues to listen to them and work with them and respect their traditions and their faiths. Instead, they are behaving like colonizers, attempting to abuse state power to exercise undue influence by attempting to criminalize things that families in this country have believed in since the very founding of this nation by the English and the French. Now, they will, of course, as they have throughout this morning and this afternoon, made efforts to characterize our concerns over this legislation as theatrics. But I bring it back to what was said, the actual language used by the now Minister of Canadian Identity and Culture, who was promoted, Mr. Speaker, by the Prime Minister after he made these comments. As chair of the Justice Committee on October 30th, he said that 3 books of the Bible, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, and Romans, are hateful. He used the language of hate to describe verses in the Bible that people have prayed over, they have read to their children, they have shared in communities all across this country for a very long time. And the Charter of Rights and Freedoms that the Liberal Party pretends, and I emphasize, Mr. Speaker, pretends to care about, enshrines the right to religious freedom precisely as a sign of respect for the fact that there are things the government should not have its fingerprints on. The government should not be making its way into churches, mosques, and synagogues in an effort to bring liberal values and use the criminal justice system to enforce liberal values on the private religious lives of Canadian citizens. But that is precisely what a colonizer would do. That is precisely what a cultural imperialist would do.
And liberal colonial.
It would look at churches, mosques, and synagogues and say, how can the federal government get their way in there? And it is wrong. It is unethical, and it is against the traditions of this country. It is an insult to the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Now, I want to say, Mr. Speaker, one thing I have observed in the relatively short time that I have been a member of Parliament is that the Liberal Party does this, I don't know what you would call it, mind games, false presentation, making an effort to convince Christian, Muslims, and Jews of various cultural backgrounds that they respect them. They make this effort to show we want to hear you and welcome you into Canadian politics. I've seen them with my own eyes, Mr. Speaker, in the Toronto area, running around at cultural events, running around at cultural holidays, eating samosas and jerk chicken and pretending that they respect people from diverse community backgrounds. They run around and they offer people DEI and slogans like diversity is our strength. They say all kind of funny things, diversity, vote for me, you know, that kind of attitude that they bring around our communities. And then what do they do, Mr. Speaker, when they come to Ottawa? What they do is they want to culturally imperialize the people of this country and their children. They actually have no respect for diversity at all, at all. And any Christian, Muslim, or Jew whose ancestors come from any part of the world must be able to unite in recognizing that the Liberal Party has no respect for our religions, our traditions, or our values. They believe that the federal government is superior to us, and they believe they have the right to impose their values on our churches, mosques, and synagogues. You know, I believe when we talk about the language of colonizers and culturally imperialists, we have to recognize that when they attack Scripture, when they attack the Bible, when they attack our religions, when they try to justify bringing the criminal justice system into our places of worship, what they are doing is trying to strip away the things that make us well-rounded people. To them, we are simply economic inputs. We should have no culture. They believe we should have no meaning in our lives. They offer us nihilism. They offer us the chance to be a column on a spreadsheet used to calculate GDP. That's all they think of us.
Or votes.
And the efforts that we make to be well-rounded people, to be part of a community, to believe in something, to have conviction, to be connected to the traditions of our fathers, our mothers, our grandfathers, our grandmothers, they ridicule and they insult. They call it hateful to believe that we come from something. But Mr. Speaker, we stand on the shoulders of giants who sacrificed for us to be here. They sacrificed for us to have the life that we have today. And we will not denounce the very people who make our lives possible. We will not denounce the cultures and traditions that they come from. And we will not sit here quietly and idly while the Liberal Party seeks to call our ancestors hateful. We will not accept that. We will reject their cultural imperialism. We will call them colonizers when they behave like colonizers. And in closing, I will suggest, Mr. Speaker, that one of the reasons they denigrate Canadian history, one of the reasons that they keep the Canadian flag at half-mast for a year, one of the reasons they support teaching our children in this country that our country should be ashamed of its own history is because they are embarrassed by what they see in the mirror. And they have not learned the lessons from history, and they repeat the mistakes made in history to colonize and imperialize over other people. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
In comments, the Honourable Chief Government Whip.
Where does this member get off thinking that he knows the first thing about me, Mr. Speaker? How does he believe to know what church I was baptized in, what church I visit every Sunday morning, what church my wife and I got married in, what the faith is that my wife and I both practice? This member has no clue, yet he stands up in this House and decides to preach to us about who we are when he has absolutely no clue. Is it even possible in this member's mind, Mr. Speaker, that perhaps I do and I am deeply faithful to my own religion? I just don't see the need to show that in this House of Commons to everybody else.
The member for Bowmanville, Oshawa North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't pretend to know anything about the member from Kingston other than what he shows me when I show up to work. And what I see when I show up to work is a man with no respect for Christians, Muslims, and Jews in this country, and a man who supports efforts by the Liberal Party to colonize and imperialize people.
Order. I believe we have a point of order from the member from Winnipeg North.
First of all, Mr. Speaker, I know the member from Kingston is a Christian himself. And to make the type of allegation that the member just made, I believe he owes...
Order. I'll ask the member from Bowmanville or Oshawa North to please quiet down. The member from Winnipeg North, he could quickly get to the point of his...
Mr. Speaker, I know the government House Whip as a Christian. And it is distasteful for the member to say what he just put on the record, and we would ask that he withdraw the comments and apologize.
And resign.
Then you should leave the chamber.
Yeah.
Order. I can stand here all day. Order. I will stand here all day until the House comes back to order. Okay. I will review what was said on the tapes. I will take a look at the blues and I will take a look at the and come back to the House if necessary. Order. The honourable member for the Chief Government Whip on order. I will invite the member to please not take the floor when he hasn't been recognized by the chair. The honourable Chief Government Whip.
Notwithstanding what was said about me, because I will leave it to the member to do the respectful thing and apologize to me, but the member just yelled out to you that you are participating in liberal censorship, Mr. Speaker. Yeah. He owes an apology to this House and to you personally and to the seat that you occupy.
Yeah.
Here.
Order. I didn't hear that comment, but I do appreciate, and I... Order.
The honourable member for Drummond, I believe, on the point of order. Mr. Speaker, we've talked a lot about decorum in this House. How many warnings, how many times do you have to yell order before you act? Because it's becoming embarrassing, this situation. Mr. Speaker, please do bring some order and apply your authority in this House. Thank you. I appreciate the comments from the honourable member.
We are on questions and comments. Question et commentaire, and I'm hoping that we can get through these next 3.5 minutes without further interruptions and interjections. I'll just ask all members to please have some respect. This is a place of debate. This is a place where we should have vigorous debates. But when those comments go beyond the debate and go into the questioning of the motivations or the character of individual members, and that's where things go too far. So I'm going to ask members to have some respect for the offices that we hold on behalf of the Canadians who send us here from coast to coast to coast. Questions and comments. Question et commentaire.
The honourable member for Lac-Saint-Jean. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You'll allow me to say, Mr. Speaker, that the people from Quebec who are watching what's happening here right now find this surreal. because everybody is missing the point here, as we say. If we look at the Bloc Québécois proposal when it comes to the religious exemption, in the criminal code, you can't incite hate. And unfortunately, there's a little provision that says there's an exception, a religious exception, when sacred texts are being referred to. So all we're doing is removing that religious exemption. There's no attack against any religion here. And when my colleague says that this is imperialism and colonialism, this proposal, well, 75% of Quebecers who are in favor of this proposal, and there's a unanimous motion that was passed by the National Assembly of Quebec. The 125 MNAs who are in favor of this proposal. Is my colleague saying that 75% of Quebecers and 100% of the elected members of the National Assembly of Quebec are imperialist and colonialist, Mr. Speaker?
The member for Bowmanville, Oshawa North.
I want to thank my colleague for the question. Specifically, I talked about liberal colonizers and liberal imperialists. So just to clarify for the record. Now, for my colleague from Quebec, what I would say is the Bloc Québécois has represented their efforts here in this chamber as pushing back on the encroachment of the federal government. In this situation, with Bill C-9 and this amendment, the Bloc Québécois is actually asking the federal government to have more power over the lives of Quebecers and more power over the lives of all Canadian citizens. I would think that would be an area where the Bloc Québécois and Conservatives would agree no abuse of federal state power. Thank you.
Comments. The honourable member for Oxford.
Speaker, in the Bill of Rights, Prime Minister John Diffenberger said, I'm free to speak without fear, free to worship God in my own way, free to stand for what I believe is right, and free to oppose what I believe is wrong. Those are the foundations our country is built on, the same values that this Liberal government is attacking. They're attacking faiths from all across the spectrum, Hindus, Sikhs, Muslims, Jews, Christians. Why is this government prioritizing the putting away pastors for preaching the Bible as opposed to putting away repeat violent offenders? The member travels quite a bit across the country, meeting with folks from all walks of life. What is he hearing from different faith leaders across our country?
Honourable member for Bowmanville, Oshawa North.
What is uniting faith leaders and faith communities across Canada is concern that we have a Liberal federal government right now that doesn't understand boundaries over its own power. Instead of being humble enough to recognize that people who are sick or struggling in communities across our nation rely on churches, mosques, and synagogues as a source of support and strength, the Liberal government instead looks at these institutions and wonders how they can exercise more state power over every function of our lives and every function of our communities. It is wrong and it must be opposed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.